has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point. Imam Hussein Charity aims to help provide a better future for these impoverished patients, aiding them with finances for their prescriptions as well as dialysis of their kidneys. You can help our brothers and sisters with purchases of prescriptions for just £20, and for £200 help a patient with a dialysis procedure. To donate or for more information, visit www.imamhusseincharity.com.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show that takes in all of your questions in regards to any Islamic topic whatsoever. You may have a question on business, traveling, marriage. You may have a question on food, drink. Whatever question you have, please send it in via the WhatsApp number. It should be there below right now. You can scan the QR code right in the corner there, and that'll take you straight to the WhatsApp page. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, you can put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah the technical team will send it to me on my handy iPad over here. If you'd like to call into the studio, 0203 515 0199 if you're in the UK, and if you're outside of the UK, then you can call via the WhatsApp number. Inshallah. I'm your host, Mohsin Shia, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'as. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
How
are you doing this evening?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Sheikh, before we begin, I think we have a caller on the line. Can I just confirm with the producer?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Go straight to our caller and ask them they can ask us a question, inshallah.
Let's start with persons, inshallah. They can wait. Yeah.
Well, inshallah. I'm not sure. We'll find out.
We have to start first, inshallah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, would you like to do the hadith first?
إن شاء الله. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. If he's online, then we can speak to him, and then we can start, inshallah.
Do you have the caller? Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear us? Hello. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
There we go. Alaikum salam, brother. How are you? Okay?
Yes, sir. Alhamdulillah, I'm okay. How are you, sir?
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. You are live on Ahkam SOS. Please, your question for the Sheikh. The Sheikh will answer, inshallah.
Sir, I have the question as well as request for the prayers from the Sheikh.
Inshallah.
Okay. My question is that the youth of the Shia of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, there is lots of the obstacles and barriers like social media. There's lots of negativity and sectarism, extremism, terrorism, etc. How the youth can protect from themselves from this, as well as the power of pen. In this is the youth in how the youth can use the power of pen to destroy this negativity and bring positivity. And my request to prayers for the Sheikh is that I am the student of BS Commerce and I want to study abroad, and here are a lot of financial crises. Please pray for me. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Sheikh, any questions in regards to?
No, that's fine.
You understand it?
If you can repeat it again, inshallah.
Inshallah, I'll try and repeat the question. Thank you very much, brother. The Sheikh will answer your question now. Sheikh, in regards to saying how to combat those who attack the Shia from different, backgrounds, they come from different schools of thought, very extreme schools. They do takfir on us and so forth. And they use television, media, social media. We see so many of them coming onto platforms where they're giving their uneducated and unsolicited opinion on the matter. We know that certain governments have financed a heavy anti-Shia campaign. It's not even to promote an ideology, but it's to promote anti-Shiaism and so forth. So the brother was asking, how do we combat this? How do we battle this and so forth? And also, like, you know, I think he was asking about the power of the dua with you know, together as a communal, as a jama'ah and so forth. How can we, you know, defeat these obstacles that we have during our lifetime?
Yes, indeed. With regard to the first question about how to respond to those individuals who attack the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, we follow Ahlul Bayt with this regard, and we can see through the history of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam that how Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he nurtured students and disciples like Hisham ibn Hakam, Mu'min al-Taq, Muhammad ibn Muslim, and others, and each had his own expertise in a specific field. So Muhammad Muslim was expert in fiqh, Hisham ibn Hakam in debating the non-Shia and non-Muslims, and others each had their own expertise. So we have to initially nurture and work on the youths who can be a future ulama and scholars who can respond to those individuals. So we should at least save one child. I think if each family save one child and send them back to Hawza to study in Najaf, for example, for a couple of years, and come back and study, let's say, MA Islamic law or let's say Islamic studies, and try to specialize in Islamic theology, in Islamic akhlaq, in Islamic fiqh and usul, that would help a lot, rather than just stand and watch those enemies of Ahlul Bayt who attack the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And also we have to do the same thing. We have to spread and propagate the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. As Imam Hussein said, that the best way is to learn the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt and teach it to the others. This is the best way in which one can deliver the message of Muhammad wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla give blessing to this individual and this brother to be able to succeed in his work, in his life, inshallah.
Inshallah. Quick reminder to all the viewers that we do take in your questions. If you have any questions you'd like to send in, please send it in via the WhatsApp number there below, and also the QR code is there. Sheikh, now before we start answering the questions, I've got loads of from YouTube. You always give us some advice, you always give us a hadith you go through and so forth. Over to you, Sheikh. Now, what hadith do you have for us today?
Yes, indeed. As we're approaching the Shahada and the martyrdom of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, the 9th Imam of Ahlul Bayt, salamullah alayhim, where someone asks Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, his father, that he says, Ya Sayyidi in kana kawnun fa ila man. He says to Imam al-Rida alayhi salam that if something happens to you, in other words, if you depart this world, then who should we go back to? And have, consider the Imam after you. The Imam said, Salamullah alayhi ila Abi Ja'far ibni. Go back to Abu Ja'far. In other words, Imam Muhammad al-Jawad alayhi salam, my son. Go back to him, and he is your Imam, the 9th Imam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Then the narrator says, فَكَأَنَّ الْقَائِلِ اسْتَصْغَرَ سِنْ أَبِي جَعْفَرَ alayhi salam. It seems to be that the one who was asking the Imam, he belittled the age of the Imam al-Jawad, in which he was, let's say, under 4, 5, that age. So he thought that how could a child take over the Imam of Imam alayhi salam. Imam Rida alayhi salam said to him, Inna Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala ba'atha Isa ibn Maryam rasulan nabiyyan. Allah Azza wa Jal, he sent Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, as a prophet and messenger. صاحب شريعة مبتدأة. He came with the Sharia. He started his mission with the Sharia. في أصغر من سن الذي فيه أبو جعفر عليه السلام. He was younger than the age of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. Because Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, he was an Imam when he was 9, according to some narrations. And Isa alayhi salam, he took the message from Allah Azza wa Jal, became a messenger while he was 7. So, in other words, we have the Quran, which states about Isa alayhi salam, when he was born in his cradle, he said, Inni Abdullah, in his cradle. So, with Allah Azza wa Jal, age doesn't make any difference. The Prophet is Prophet when he is born, the first minutes or hour of his life. He is a Prophet and he's given the book. The age doesn't matter because they are ma'soom, infallibles, and they are sent by Allah Azza wa Jal.
That's it. Just a quick reminder to our viewers that the phone lines are open. You can send in your questions via the WhatsApp number there, scan the QR code, or if you're on social media, just put your questions through. I've got plenty here, Sheikhna. And let us begin with your permission from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What does Islam say about democracy? Jazakallah khair.
You see, today's democracy failed to achieve a true freedom to the people of the world. In the East and in the West, it doesn't make a difference. We can see today there are topics you cannot talk about. There are issues you cannot speak about it. You will be jailed, you will be taken to the court, you will be charged, and so forth. And we saw many thinkers, individuals, writers who tried to question some of the historic events that happened in the past century, that how authentic is this? And they were taken to the courts and possibly given some kind of penalty or even jail. So there isn't such a genuine democracy in the world as we see today. What's happening in the Middle East, nobody cares. Nobody is doing any actions in terms of protecting the life of the civilians on the ground. So, the true democracy, if it's the right term, we can use it, is in Islam. In the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he set his enemies, the war criminals like Abu Sufyan and others in Mecca, he said, "You are tulaqa. You're free to go. Antum tulaqa." He freed those who came and tortured his companions, killed his companions, attacked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wounded him in the Battle of Uhud. But later, when he took over and conquered Mecca, he freed them. I don't think anyone would do this if he takes over his enemies, ground and power, would free his enemies so in this way. So the true freedom is with Islam and with Muhammad salamu alayhim.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna and Sayyid. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Can non-hijabis enter paradise?
You see, Allah Azza wa Jal has established, the justice. Allah is adil, is just. Without this justice, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes the wrongdoer to paradise and the good doer to the hell, this against his justice. It's dhulm, it's oppression. So Allah's justice and adl would make it compulsory and obligatory for him to those who do good deeds to be taken to paradise, and those who do bad deeds, of course, taken to hellfire. Of course, we have different types of purifications in this dunya, in the barzakh, in the grave, until they reach the day of Qiyamah and the Hisab. And of course, if that individual was a mu'minah, a believing lady who believes in the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, then of course there are purifications in which if they have intentionally missed prayers for us, intentionally they have committed sins, of course, they would be in somehow compensated through other types of let's say, punishments in the grave, as I've said, and the hereafter.
Yes.
Until they reach, of course, the fate, which is paradise, inshallah, because they have the correct belief in aqeedah. Yes, if somebody has shirk, of course, disbelief, of course, they won't enter paradise. When you have the correct aqeedah and belief, the a'mal would be, of course, needed as well, part of the aqeedah. But the main thing is the aqeedah and the belief, the Islamic beliefs, the main thing that would make somebody to enter paradise. The rest of the a'mal, if you don't do them, there's a punishment, heavy punishment in the grave, and maybe even on the Qiyamah as well.
Wow. Ahsant. Sheikhna from YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I was wondering, what book should I buy to study tafsir of the Holy Quran and the history of the Ahlul Bayt, but I want books in English. English books on history and tafsir, Sheikhna.
In terms of the English, I'm not sure if it's available.
I know, is it Ayashi or Nayashi? There's a tafsir. That's available in English on
Ayashi,
tafsir.
Tafsir Ayashi.
Yeah, that's available in English.
Yes.
on the Tafsir website. But they've got many different ones. You have to click for Ayashi. History, Sheikhna, Kitab al-Irshad.
Irshad Sheikh al-Mufid, yes.
Yeah, that's available in English.
Biha Anwar, if you have access to English.
Yeah, they will be online. You can get that in English.
Exactly. I mean, Tafsir Safi, we have Tafsir Burhan. In English, I'm not sure.
Tafsir
You might find Tafsir Qummi أحسنت.
I don't know if it's in English though.
Tafsir Imam Askari عليه السلام as well.
Fair enough. More questions coming in from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can you recommend some reliable Shia books in English? Will have to be Al-Kafi, no, Sheikhna?
Yes, if you want hadith wise, Al-Kafi Sharif.
Al-Kafi, Bihar Anwar, Tahzib al-Ahkam, Istibsar. There's a couple more. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Please pray and teach Imam Jawad dua to connect with him in my difficulty time. Jazakallah khair. Those who want to connect with Imam Jawad, Sheikhna, what is the best dua to perform?
The Imam has what is known as the Hirzul Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, like a ta'weez. Imam al-Jawad is written and then to be carried on someone's neck or as a ta'weez to protect them. But also you can do the ziyarah of the Imam Salamullah alayhi on his martyrdom. There should be ad'iyah with the Imam alayhi salam. One can go back to Kutub al-Fadiyah, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. What happened to the Dhul Fiqar? The sword of Amir
You see, what we have in Kitab al-Kafi, if you go back and read some of the narration, is that there are the staff of Musa alayhi salam, Asa Musa, the books of the prophets Dawood, Isa, Musa alayhi salam. These are all concealed in a box. In a box. The Silah Rasulullah, the sword of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
His turban as well.
It's been passed through one Imam to another Imam.
The treasures.
So whatever is left, then it's in the hands of Imam al-Hujjah Ajjallahu Farajahu al-Sharif.
I heard there's also the Mus'haf of Fatima is in that chest.
Yes, many books.
There's a book by Amir al-Mu'mineen on the sciences of this universe. That's in there. And a couple of more things as well, inshallah. We live to see, inshallah. More questions coming in. WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Qibla, my namaz is, can I recite namaz shab after Maghribain? If I offer, will I get the same thawab which we get after midnight?
I mean, Salat al-Isha usually comes off straight after reciting and performing the Maghrib prayers, which takes about 3 to 5 minutes to finish. So by that time, Isha time has been approached and you can pray. If you want to pray specifically on the time of the Isha, which is an hour after the Maghrib Shar'i, you can sit down on the prayer mat, perform the mustahabbat, ad'iyah, and then connect it to the Maghrib, to the Isha.
They were asking about namaz shab for Salat al-Layl.
Yes.
Can we pray that after Maghrib?
After Isha. So when you finish Salat al-Isha, you start straight away.
You can.
Yes.
What about the thawab? More thawab, less thawab, same amount of thawab?
The closest to Fajr Adhan would be has more thawab.
That's
in the last 15 to 20 minutes before Adhan.
Do they call this like the peak time of thawab?
Yeah, the half an hour before Fajr.
So what's the peak? Do you know the peak times for the other prayers, Sheikhna? For example, Fajr, the peak time for Fajr would be?
By the Adhan time.
And for Dhuhr?
Same thing.
Asr?
Praying by the Adhan time. When the Adhan is called, you pray after the Adhan straight away.
And is it a case of, as the time goes, the thawab is going down towards the next Adhan?
We have some narrations with
that. Yeah. From the, I think it's from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I have a question. Is it permissible to have a bank account that collects interest?
In terms of receiving interest from non-Muslim banks, one should pay the received interest khums. So when you receive that interest, you have to pay khums on this interest received.
What if it's in an Islamic country or an Islamic bank?
Again, they would divide it between the governmental banks and private banks. You know, let's say public-owned banks is a ishkal problem. It's a private banks owned by some, let's say, Muslim businessmen who run these banks. It's problematic with this regard.
More questions coming in from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can you break an old flaky turba and make it new again? Have a turba that was behind the radiator for years and is basically falling apart. but can I crush it and reform it to its former glory? Turba is breaking, it's getting old. Are we allowed to crush it, bring some water, maybe some more mud, and try and make a new turba out of it? Is that okay?
I mean, the best way is to pour water on it until it gets muddy, and then you start to
Mold?
mold that, yeah, as a new turba, yeah.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it permissible to participate in a golden shower? Sheikhna, I don't think you know what a golden shower is, but basically, it is one of those acts that are done in the bedroom. Well, it's not in the bedroom, it's done in the bathroom probably. But when one, in intimacy, one urinates on the other. So would that be acceptable in Islam?
Well, that's outside the boundary of akhlaq and morality and ethics, especially when there is
It's quite disrespectful.
impurity. Exactly. That's not right at all.
Fair. And from WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Ya Hamid, Ya Jafar Sharif, Madad. Playing PUBG and other video games are permissible. If not, then why? According to Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani. Sheikhna, you mentioned this before, that Ayatollah Sistani has a fatwa against PUBG. I guess the game, which I think was a massive phenomenon in Iraq. A lot of people playing it, a lot of people arguably wasting their time with it and so forth. Why do you think such a fatwa was issued?
Initially, I said I'm not sure exactly if there was a fatwa, but I've heard something in Iraq, because in Iraq we had a problem that some youths spent hours and hours a day to play and to be able to win and to clock the game at the end of the month and to get some kind of prize or something, in which wasted the time, the health, and the well-being of those youths. So that's why something was spoken in Najaf about this issue.
Yes.
And I heard it from his eminence representative in Najaf on TV, that he was speaking against this game.
Yeah.
Anything if you go beyond it, then of course would be not preferred to use and play.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it haram to pray for an enemy of yours, Hur al-Ain, to be a man?
Well, we follow
sure
what is
about
said in the ad'iyah, specifically in the dua of iftitah, at the end of the dua, when we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to marry us with Hur al-Ain, وَبِرَحْمَتِكَ مِنَ الْحُورِ الْعِينِ فَزَوِّجْنَا. So we follow as it's mentioned in the dua.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I'd like to ask, why is it that with fish it is halal to eat out of, bringing them out of water, and that they're not slaughtered, such as sheep and cows? We must do it in a specific way. What are the rules for fish? Whenever I shop for canned tuna, my mother says to get the other ones produced in Muslim countries like Iran or Indonesia, stay away from the ones from the Philippines. And ever since then, I've been curious what makes fish halal to eat.
Well, initially, in terms of the fish, the same question you can ask, that why should we treat the animals, the sheep and the cows and the chickens in this way, to slaughter them in this way, gushing blood coming out from their necks and so forth. This is Shari'atullah Azza wa Jal, as he established this Sharia to be in this way. Of course, there are scientific benefits with this regard. I'm not going to go through it. That if this gushing blood was not gushed and you've actually killed, you suffocated the animal, the sheep, as they do today, then this blood would remain inside the body and that would cause some kind of poison to the flesh and to the meat. So we leave this scientific facts, aside. The same with the fish, that if it remains inside the water and dies inside the water, that could also create some kind of possible poisons. Again, we need to approve it by the scientists. That's why it has to come out and keep shaking and to be able to consume this fish to die outside the water and not inside the water. So we have to understand that if it's a divinely matter and instructions, it means that there's a benefit for the human being. It's not just that we can do whatever we want, eat whatever we like to eat. And that's why we see today in the world that there are lots of diseases are being happening and coming to the human beings from nowhere, basically. And that's because humans, overall the humankind, neglected the God's teachings So they've been eating all types of meat, even snakes and so forth. So we have to be careful with this issue.
Fair. Sheikh, I believe we have a phone call on the line. Inshallah, we'll be able to get through to our viewer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How you doing, brother? You okay?
Yeah. Sheikh, I have to ask the question from the Sheikh is that Marfat of Imam Zaman alayhi salam. Sheikh, my dream was to become the army doctor, but after doing my matriculation examination, I got severe depression, and I was in please pray for my cure. And now the scholar motivated me that you are getting your education, continue your education. You have more Marfat of Imam Zaman alayhi salam than those who are not getting education, because the power of pen is mightier than power of sword. So Sheikh, I want to ask you how I can use the power pen for Marfat of Imam Zaman and for his happiness. Jazakallah.
Okay, thank you very much, brother, for your call. Inshallah, we're going to discuss now and then speak to the Sheikh. Sheikh, I'm just going to get from the producer. Can you repeat the question for us, please? Because the sound was pretty poor in the studio.
Question is that how the youth can use the power of pen for the marfat and happiness of Imam Zaman alayhi salam.
Just briefly.
How can
the youth use the power of pen?
YouTube and the power of pen. The power of the
pen
pen to help Imam Zaman.
Yeah, happiness of Imam Zaman alayhi salam.
No problem. I'll forward that to the Sheikh right now. Thank you very much, brother, for your call. Sheikh, now using social media and the power of the pen to write content, how can we use these to help the Imam Zaman and hasten the reappearance of Imam Zaman?
As I've said a couple of minutes ago, that someone needs to gain knowledge. That's why I said we need to invest at least one of our sons or daughters to go and study in Islamic, let's say, theology, Islamic studies, fiqh, akhlaq, and try to gain that knowledge, to be able to spread this knowledge via social media, newspapers, writing books, and so forth. Whatever means you can do so. You have to get knowledge first, gain the knowledge first, attain the knowledge to be able to spread it in the correct way and manner. Without knowledge, you cannot spread and give the right knowledge. You might give the wrong knowledge, la samahallah. So you have to get the correct and accurate knowledge about the history of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, how they, established the true, leading the Muslims in the right way. Contrary to what we see today in the Muslim countries, how they lead their nations with suppression, oppression, killing people, imprisoning them, and so forth. So we have to study well the history of Ahlul Bayt, of the Islamic era, and also to study, each would have their own field to study: fiqh, usul, akhlaq, as I've said, theology, aqaid, and so forth. So we need knowledge first. If we have knowledge, then we can use it in the best way. So knowledge is the main thing. Knowledge and piety, taqwa as well. Because if you don't have taqwa and piety, you can
there's no point really.
Make alterations. You might deviate the people as a result. And we've seen this many people who were mu'min, believers, and sadly they made their own even sect. For example, rejecting the existence of the Imam Mahdi Ajal Faraj al-Sharif. He doesn't exist. And it's a myth, na'udhu billah. It's just a fiction, na'udhu billah. So knowledge with piety, very important to propagate and spread Islam.
Sheikh, now we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the break as we continue our discussion here on Ahkam SOS. If you have a question you'd like to ask, now is the best time to send in your question, because we're going to go for a break. You may have a question on, slaughtering animals. You may have a question on Hajj, as Hajj is coming soon. You have a question on Qadha prayers or Qadha fast. Whatever question you have, send them in via the WhatsApp. The QR code should be there in the corner and the phone number at the bottom. If you're watching on social media, just put them in the comment section, and inshallah the technical team will send them to me, and we will see you after this short break.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of scholars.
Is it permissible to plant trees by or
over
over
Islam
the
establish based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there
countries?
an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155.
For those interested in an Islamic law book by Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Shirazi, please WhatsApp the Ahkam SOS team at the following number to place your order today: +44 7415 092155. The Islamic law book, available exclusively in hard copy, contains religious questions answered by Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Shirazi. Order your hard copy today.
Order your copy of the Islamic law book by His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, by just messaging on the WhatsApp number and telling us that you're interested. A member of our team will be in contact and will be able to organize a copy of that book for yourself. So you are here live watching Ahkam SOS, the best show here on Imam Hussein TV, with the greatest host, Mohsin Shah. But yes, we are here to take in your questions, any questions that you have whatsoever. It could be on pilgrimage, it could be on prayer, it could be on another an oath that you owe, custom that you owe, any topic whatsoever. Send in your questions via the WhatsApp number here at the bottom. You can scan the QR code, or if you're watching on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah myself and the Sheikh will be able to answer all of your inquiries. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh, we've got more and more questions coming in. This is from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum. My question is, permissible for a Muslim to take suede from non-Muslim, as I've heard from one of the prestigious Shia clerics that taking suede from non-Muslims are permissible for Muslims?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What does suede means?
Suede, I think, is a material. It's S-U-D-E. I don't know if I'm saying it right. If it's suede, it's a material. Otherwise, it's sued. I don't know what sued is.
Sued in Farsi means interest. So if he or she means that sued, which means interest, of course taking interest from another Muslim is not permissible. As I've said, even if the bank was owned by an individual, a Muslim, a private bank, you cannot take interest from them.
Fair. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can youth use the power of the pen to have ma'rifah of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam? Is the power of the pen mightier than the power of the sword?
Yes, indeed. What we need today is to introduce Imam al-Zaman more to the people, and especially to the youth generation, that we have a living Imam within us. And we have to await his reappearance. It could be any time, we don't know. The ilm is in Allah's knowledge, part of the ilm al-ghayb that is concealed on us. So we have to work by learning their knowledge and then teaching them to our generations, the coming generations, to be able to nurture a good and a faithful society, and to avoid corruption and indecency.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Please share any good books to convince people for hijab.
In terms of the hijab, I'm not sure if there's an English ones written specific for hijab. You have to search to find out if there's any specific book with this regard.
From YouTube, if someone is in need to take qarza from your bank account with bank interest, is it allowed to take it back with that interest as the person promised and agreed?
As I've said, to take interest, to receive interests or to give interest to the non-Muslim banks, in terms of receiving is allowed, but you have to pay khumus. To give interest because you took out loan, unless you're compelled, you can do so. You're a student, you need a student loan, for example, to pay your fees and so forth. That's allowed because you're compelled, and you pay them the back with the interest. So the exception with regards to the interest. I know some non-Shia sects, they wouldn't even allow for themselves to even buy a house on mortgage. They consider haram. They can't even pay with this regard.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I have a question for the Sheikh. Who can bury a woman if all her male mahram are dead, so she doesn't have a living male mahram? Can the females bury the female?
Yes, of course. In this case, they have to refer back to the female who can wash her as well and do all the burial.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. What happens if someone eats, drinks something haram? Are they najis? If so, how do they become tahir? What happens if they have a marital partner and want to, let's say, kiss them?
If there was, let's say, alcohol and so forth, of course, na'udhu billah, they have to purify their mouth, the lips, if it was
With water.
with water, in terms of washing the mouth.
Yeah.
The lips, if there was impurity on his mouth as a result of course contamination when drinking. Otherwise, they have to ask Allah's repentance and tawbah and istighfar with this regard. 2 rak'ah salah, asking Allah Azza wa Jal for tawbah, and make sure that you would ask Allah Azza wa Jal sincerely with regret that you will never ever go back to this indecent act.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I am a Muslim Shia that lives in New Jersey who needs help because of haram things I see and hear in my school. I am the only Shia in my school and it's hard because of all the haram that's around me.
The Holy Quran states, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِكُمْ. First, protect yourself. Then the others, i.e. your family and the rest of the people. So you make sure that you protect yourself by not being in contact with those who are indecent in their looks, in their speeches, in their actions. So you stay away from them. That's the best way. Because if you try to speak to them and they're stubborn, that no, what we do is right. We want to enjoy. It's only our opportunity in our teens to enjoy. So you try to protect yourself. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. This is the first step, inshallah.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I would like to confirm if it is permissible to take interest from your parent or child, as I was told the interest is permissible between parent and child.
Yes, there are exceptions in terms of the parents and child, in terms of receiving or giving interest. Yeah, there are exemptions with regard. Yeah, Sahih.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. In some communities, women are not allowed to attend the cemetery at the time of the burial. Is this an Islamic ruling?
Not at all. It's got nothing to do with Islamic rulings. A lady can attend the funeral and the janazah and even in the graveyard before that deceased been or after been buried.
Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it haram to eat from restaurants or establishments that support the killing of humans or anti-Shia?
You see, such fatwa, we have to be very careful. That sometimes we hear that let's boycott these companies because of what's happening, on the other side of the sea, of the ocean. We have to go back to our fuqaha and ulama and maraja with this regard, and not to act by ourselves and our opinions and excitement. You have to go back to your marja, forward the question that are we allowed to buy from these restaurants, from these companies, because the problem is those governments, they have penetrated into most of the sectors of the country. You might even discover that the electricity you're using, the running water in your tap, a portion of it belongs to that country in which are killing the innocent people. What can you do? Stop using the water? Stop using electricity? Stop even using the petrol to fill your car with petrol? It's almost impossible. So always have common sense and use your intellect and go back to the ulama with this regard. Don't give your own and issue your own verdict of fatwa. This is wrong. You're going to make life on yourself and others difficult and hard. Let's use common sense with this regard, inshallah.
And final question for this evening. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I have doubt regarding Ramadan and taqiyya. Let's say I have to share my life during Ramadan month with people who will harm me. If they know I'm Muslim, it implies eating and cooking together. What would be the solution here? Is it allowed or just don't do Ramadan?
You see, taqiyya has its own rulings. It depends how severe it is. Of course, if somebody is in a state of life-threatening situation in which his life would be difficult and on the brink or the edge of la samahallah death, then of course taqiyya would be applied in this case. So it depends. You have to see your condition and the situation. Can you disappear from them during the daytime and fast, and then appear again in night time, and you can eat with them, for example? You have to find solutions with this regard before observing taqiyya.
I think we've got time for one more. It's very creative, Sheikhna. It says, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I wanted to know, is there any way Islamically I can have a threesome? I'm a male and I'd like to be intimate with 2 females at the same time in the same room. Is there any way that can be possible? I'm happy to use blindfolds as well.
You see, let's be more sensible with this regard and try to enjoy our life in a way in which makes it more sensible, in other words. So if you think you want to go in this way and enjoy yourself, of course you have to make sure that you observe the boundary of the Sharia. That's very important, because those 2 ladies cannot see each other without clothing. You know, they have to, and they shouldn't, for example, when they see each other in this situation, they shouldn't arouse the lust, for example, as a result. So there are Shari'i issues with this regard that you have to observe carefully. But anyhow, this is something one should make their own decision with this regard.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. And thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. If I didn't answer your question, I do apologize. I had so many this time. However, we shall take these questions and forward them on to our next episode, which will be on Monday, 7 p.m. here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Inshallah, you guys will have a very, very commemorating and spiritual commemoration of Imam Jawad alayhi salam, inshallah. Please remember us in your du'as, and we'll see you on Monday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
With more and more victims of war and poverty, the Middle East has seen a surge in patients seeking medical aid. Iraq alone has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point. Imam Hussein Charity aims to help provide a better future for these impoverished patients, aiding them with finances for their prescriptions as well as dialysis of their kidneys. You can help our brothers and sisters with purchases of prescriptions for just £20, and for £200 help a patient with a dialysis procedure. To donate or for more information, visit www.imamhusseincharity.com. With more and more victims of war and poverty, the Middle East has seen a surge in patients seeking medical aid. Iraq alone has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point. Imam Hussein Charity aims to help provide a better future for these impoverished patients, aiding them with finances for their prescriptions as well as dialysis of their kidneys. You can help our brothers and sisters with purchases of prescriptions for just £20, and for £200 help a patient with a dialysis procedure. To donate or for more information, visit www.imamhusseincharity.com. With more and more victims of war and poverty, the Middle East has seen a surge in patients seeking medical aid. Iraq alone has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point. Imam Hussein Charity aims to help provide a better future for these impoverished patients, aiding them with finances for their prescriptions as well as dialysis of their kidneys. You can help our brothers and sisters with purchases of prescriptions for just £20, and for £200 help a patient with a dialysis procedure. To donate or for more information, visit www.imamhusseincharity.com. With more and more victims of war and poverty, the Middle East has seen a surge in patients seeking medical aid. Iraq alone has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point. Imam Hussein Charity aims to help provide a better future for these impoverished patients, aiding them with finances for their prescriptions as well as dialysis of their kidneys. You can help our brothers and sisters with purchases of prescriptions for just £20, and for £200 help a patient with a dialysis procedure. To donate or for more information, visit www.imamhusseincharity.com. With more and more victims of war and poverty, the Middle East has seen a surge in patients seeking medical aid. Iraq alone has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point. Imam Hussein Charity aims to help provide a better future for these impoverished patients, aiding them with finances for their prescriptions as well as dialysis of their kidneys. You can help our brothers and sisters with purchases of prescriptions for just £20, and for £200 help a